Good evening and welcome to Sun Meadow Temple. We're so happy you joined us. My name is Alba and I use she, her pronouns. This is our first July observance and I'm so happy you are here. As always, this service will be recorded and posted on our YouTube channel. Please do our mid-year survey so I can make all sorts of decisions and choices about where we are going and what we will be doing in the future. It is anonymous, but the data I get is incredibly helpful for deciding what to do. Please remember that we take August off for all of us who are busy with school or other, but we will still be doing events during that time. Also, please note I'm recording in a different space today, so if you hear any background noise, my cat is just about. So we'll open today with our opening words, which will appear on the slide behind you. Please feel free to say the words aloud or listen as I read them. We welcome you into the light of the gods and light this flame in celebration. May its brightness symbolize our connection to the gods and the natural world. May you join us in this community of faith, cherishing love and with open hearts. So, our theme for this month is heroism, and our reading today is the Iliad, Book 16 by Homer, translated by Samuel Butler. It ended up being quite long, so this is the only reading I'll be doing today, and I will not be speaking afterwards. Thus they did fight about the ship of Protelius. Then Patroclus drew near to Achilles, with tears welling from his eyes, as from some spring whose crystal stream falls over the ledges of a high precipice. When Achilles saw him thus weeping, he was sorry for him, and said, "Why, Patroclus, do you stand there weeping like some silly child that comes running to her mother, and begs to be taken up and carried? She catches hold of her mother's dress to stay her, though she is in a hurry, and looks tearfully up until her mother carries her. Even such tears, Patroclus, are you now shedding. Have you heard anything to say to the Myrmidons or to myself? Have you had news from Pythia, which you alone know? They tell me Menœtius, son of Actor, is still alive, as also Peleus, son of Achaeus, among the Myrmidons, men whose loss we too should bitterly deplore? Or are you grieving about the Argives and the way in which they are being killed at the ships through their own high-handed doings? Do not hide anything from me, but tell me that both of us may know about it." Then, O knight Patroclus, with a deep sigh you answered, "Achilles, son of Peleus, foremost champion of the Achaeans, do not be angry, but I weep for the disaster that has now befallen the Argives. All those who have been their champions so far are lying at the ships, wounded by sword or spear. Brave Diomed, son of Tydeus, who has been hit with the spear, while famed Ulysses and Agamemnon have received sword wounds. Eurypylus again has been struck with an arrow in the thigh. Skilled apothecaries are attending to these heroes and healing them of their wounds. Are you still, O Achilles, so inexorable? May it never be my lot to nurse such a passion as you have done, to the baning of your own good name. Who in future story will speak well of you, unless you now save the Argives from ruin? You know no pity. Knight Peleus was not your father, nor Thetis your mother, but the grey sea born you, and the sheer cliffs begot you. So cruel and remorseless are you. If, however, you are kept back through knowledge of some oracle, or if your mother Thetis has told you something from the mouth of Jove, at least send me and the Myrmidons with me, if I may bring deliverance to the Danaans. Let me, moreover, wear your armor. The Trojans may thus mistake me for you and quit the field, so that the hard-pressed sons of the Achaeans may have breathing time, which while they are fighting may hardly be. We who are fresh might soon drive tired men back from our ships and tents to their own city." He knew not what he was asking, nor that he was suing for his own destruction. Achilles was deeply moved and answered, "What noble Patroclus are you saying? I know no prophesying which I am heeding, nor has my mother told me anything from the mouth of Jove. But I am cut to the very heart that one of my own rank should dare to rob me because he is more powerful than I am. This, after all that I have gone through, is more than I can endure. The girl whom the sons of Achaeans chose for me, whom I won as the fruit of my spear on having sacked a city, Her has King Agamemnon taken from me as though I were some common vagrant. Still, let bygones be bygones. No man may keep his anger forever. I said I would not relent till battle and the cry of warships had reached my own ships. Nevertheless, now gird my armor about your shoulders, and lead the Myrmidons to battle. For the dark cloud of the Trojans has burst furiously over our fleet, and the Argives are driven back to the beach, cooped within a narrow space, and the whole people of Troy has taken heart to sally out against them, because they see not the visor of my helmet gleaming near them. Had they seen this, there would not have been a creek nor grip that had not been filled with their dead as they fled back again. And so it would have been if only King Agamemnon had dealt fairly by me. As it is, the Trojans have beset our host. Diomed, son of Titus, no longer wields his spear to defend the Danaans. Neither have I heard the voice of the son of Archias come from his hated head, whereas that of murderous Hector rings in my ears as he gives orders to the Trojans, who triumph over the Achaeans and fill the whole plain with their cry of battle. But even so, Patroclus, fall upon them and save the fleet, lest the Trojans fire it and prevent us from being able to return. Do, however, as I now bid you, that you may win me great honor from all the Danaans, and they may restore the girl to me again, and give me rich gifts into the bargain. When you have driven the Trojans back from the ships, come back again. Though Juno's thundering husband should put triumph within your reach, do not fight the Trojans further in my absence, or you will rob me of glory that should be mine. And do not for lust of battle go on killing the Trojans, nor lead the Achaeans on to Ilus, lest one of the ever-living gods of Olympus attack you, for Phobos Apollo loves them well. Return when you have freed the ships from peril, and let others wage war upon the plain. Would by Father Jove, Minerva, and Apollo, that not a single man of all the Trojans may be left alive, nor yet of the Argives, but that we too might be alone left to tear aside the mantle that veils the brow of Troy. Thus they did converse, but Ajax could no longer hold his ground for the shower of darts that rained upon him. The will of Jove and the javelins of the Trojans were too much for him. The helmet that gleamed about his temples rang with the continuous clatter of the missiles that kept pouring onto it, and onto the cheek pipes that protected his face. Moreover, his left shoulder was tired with having held his shield so long, yet for all this, let fly at him as they would, they could not make him give ground. He could hardly draw his breath. The sweat rained from every pore of his body. He had not a moment's respite, and on all sides he was beset by danger upon. And now tell me, O Muses, that hold your mansions on Olympus, how fire was thrown upon the ships of the Achaeans. Hector came close up and let drive with his great sword at the ashen spear of Ajax. He cut it clean in two just behind where the point was fastened on to the shaft of the spear. Ajax, therefore, had now nothing but a headless spear, while the bronze point flew some way off and came ringing down onto the ground. Ajax knew the hand of heaven in this and was dismayed at seeing that Jove had now left him utterly defenseless and was willing victory for the Trojans. Therefore he drew back, and the Trojans flung fire upon the ship, which was at once wrapped in flame. The fire was now flaring about the ship's stern, where Achilles smote his two thighs and said to Patroclus, "Up, noble knight, for I see the glare of hostile fires at our fleet. Up, lest they destroy our ships, and there be no way by which we may retreat. Gird on your armor at once while I call our people together." As he spoke, Patroclus put on his armor. First he greaved his legs with greaves of good made, and fitted with ankle clasps silver. After this, he donned in the cuirass of the son of the Achaeus, richly inlaid and studded. He hung his silver-studded sword of bronze about his shoulders, then his mighty shield. On his comely head he set his helmet, a well-wrought, with a crest of horsehair that nodded menacingly above it. He grasped 2 redoubtable spears that suited his hands, but he did not take the spear of noble Achilles, so stout and strong, for none of the other Achaeans could wield it, though Achilles could do so easily. This was the ashen spear from Mount Pelion, which Chiron had cut upon the mountain top and given to Peleus, wherewith to deal out death among heroes. He bade Automedon yoke his horses with all speed, for he was the man whom he held in honor next after Achilles, and on whose support in battle he could rely most firmly. Automedon therefore yoked the fleet of horses, Xanthus and Balius, steeds that could fly like the wind. These were they whom happy Podrarge bore to the west wind as she was grazing in a meadow by the waters of the river Oceanus. In the side traces he set the noble horse Pedasus, whom Achilles had brought away with him when he sacked the city of Aeeton, and who, mortal steed though he was, could take his place along with those that were immortal. Meanwhile, Achilles went about everywhere among the tents, and bade the Myrmidons put on their armor, even as fierce ravening wolves that are feasted upon by a home stag, which they have killed upon the mountains, and their jaws are red with blood. They go in a pack to lap water from the clear spring with their long thin tongues, and they reek of blood and slaughter. They know not what fear is, for it is hunger that drives them. Even so did the leaders and counselors of the Myrmidons gather round the good squire of the fleet descendants of the Aeacus, and among them stood Achilles himself, cheering on both men and horses. 50 ships had noble Achilles brought to Troy, and in each there was a crew of 50 oarsmen. Over these he set 5 captains whom he could trust, while he himself was commander over them all. Menestheus of the gleaming corslet, son to the river Spercheius, which streams from heaven, was captain of the first company. Fair Polydora, daughter of Peleus, born him to ever-flowing Spercheius, a woman mated with a god. But he was called son of Boris, son of Pieris, with whom his mother was living as his wedded wife, and who gave great wealth to gain her. And the second company was led by noble Eudorus, son of an unwedded woman. Polymele, daughter of Phyllis, the graceful dancer, bore him. The mighty slayer of Argos was enamored of her as he saw her among the singing women at a dance held in honor of Diana, the rushing huntress of the golden arrows. He, therefore, Mercury giver of all good, went with her into an upper chamber and lay with her in secret, whereupon she bore him a noble son Eudorus, singularly fleet of foot and in fight valiant. When Ilithyia, goddess of the pains of childbirth, brought him to the light of day, and he saw the face of the sun, mighty Achilles, son of Actor, took the mother to wife, and gave great wealth to gain her. But her father Phyllis brought the child up, and took care of him, doting as fondly upon him as though he were his own son. The third company was led by Pisander, son of Mimalus, the finest spearman among all the Myrmidons, next to Achilles' own comrade Patroclus. The old knight Phoenix was captain of the fourth company, and Alcimedon, son of Laerchus, was the fifth. When Achilles had chosen his men and had stationed them all with their captains, he charged them straitly, saying, Myrmidons, remember your threats against the Trojans while you were at the ships. In the time of my anger, you were all complaining of me. Cruel son of Peleus, you would say, your mother must have suckled you on gall, so ruthless are you. You keep us here at the ships against our will. If you are so relentless, it were better we went home over the sea. Often you have gathered and thus chided with me. The hour is now come for those high feats of arms that you have so long been pining for. Therefore keep high hearts each one of you to do battle with the Trojans. With these words, he put all heart and soul into them, and they serried their companies yet more closely when they heard the words of their king. As the stones which a builder sets in the wall of some high house, which is to give shelter from the winds, even so closely were the helmets and bossed shields set against one another. Shield pressed on shield, helm on helm, and man on man. So close were they that the horsehair plumes on their gleaming ridges of their helmets touched each other as they bent their heads. In front of them all, 2 men put on their armor, Patroclus and Automedon, 2 men with one mind to lead the Myrmidons. Then Achilles went inside his tent and opened the lid of the strong chest which silver-footed Thetis had given him to take on board ship, and which she had filled with shirts, cloaks to keep out the cold, and good thick ruds. In this chest he had a cup of rare workmanship, from which no man but himself might drink, nor would he make any offering from it to any god other save only to Father Jove. He took the cup from the chest and cleansed it with sulfur. This done, he rinsed it clean with water, and after he had washed his hands, he drew wine. Then he stood in the middle of the court and prayed, looking towards heaven and making his drink offering of wine. Nor was he unseen of Jove, whose joy is in thunder. King Jove, he cried, Lord of Dodona, God of Pelagasi, who dwellest afar, you who hold wintry Dodona in your sway, where your prophets, the Selli, dwell, around you with their feet unwashed, their couches made upon the ground. If you heard me when I prayed to you aforetime, and did honor me while you sent disaster on the Achaeans, vouchsafe me now the fulfillment of yet this further prayer. I shall stay here where my ships are lying, but I shall send my comrade into battle at the head of many Myrmidons. Grant, O all-seeing Jove, that victory may go with him. Put your courage into his heart, that Hector may learn whether my squire is man enough to fight alone, or whether his might is only then so indomitable when I myself enter the turmoil of war. Afterwards, when he has chased the fight and the cry of battle from many ships, grant that he may return unharmed with his armor and his comrades, fighters in close combat. Thus did he pray, and all counseling Jove heard his prayer. Part of it he did indeed vouchsafe him, but not the whole. He granted that Patroclus should thrust back war and battle from ships, but refused to let him come safely out of the fight. When he had made his drink offering and thus prayed, Achilles went back inside his tent to put back the cup into his chest. Then he came out, for he still loved to look upon the fierce fight that raged between the Trojans and the Achaeans. Meanwhile, the armed band that was about Patroclus marched on till they sprang high in hope upon the Trojans. They came swarming out like wasps whose nests are by the roadside and whom silly children love to tease, whereon any one who happens to be passing may get stung. Or again, if any wayfarer going along the road vexes them by accident, every wasp will come flying out in fury to defend his little ones. Even with such rage and courage did the Myrmidons swarm from their ships, and their cry of battle rose heavenwards. Patroclus called out to his men at the top of his voice, Myrmidons, followers of Achilles, son of Peleus, be men, my friends, fight with might and with main, that we may win glory for the son of Peleus, who is by far the foremost man at the ships of the Argives. He and his close fighting followers, the son of Atreus, King Agamemnon, will thus learn his folly in showing no respect to the bravest of the Achaeans. With these words he put heart and soul into them, and they fell in body upon the Trojans. The ships rang again with the cry which the Achaeans raised, and when the Trojans saw the brave son of Menoetus and his squire all gleaming in their armor, they were daunted, and their battalions were thrown into confusion. For they thought the fleet son of Peleus must now have put aside his anger and have been reconciled to Agamemnon. Everyone therefore looked about to see whither he might fly for safety. As we are not doing any further readings, we'll now move into the ritual part of the observance. We leave this offering for our gods to symbolize our connection and devotion. We gift this rock to symbolize the stability of the gods in our world. We gift this water to accept the flow of our lives. We welcome life and bless our offerings with oil to share our riches. We embrace our connection to each other and the world and celebrate our revival. We will now move into our closing words, which have appeared on the slide behind you. As per usual, you can listen to me read the words aloud or read aloud with me. As we move out into the world, let us remember our community of faith. Cherish love and open your heart as you walk through life. Hold dear the light of the gods and our connection with the natural world. Go forth in celebration and carry the light of connection within your heart. So I hope to see you all for our next observance.